Chapter 4. Who We Are. A split between our brain, our personality, and our decisions. We've talked about how chemical and hormonal substances can alter our thinking and play a major role in our brain's functioning. Let's now talk about the levels of that functioning. As Homo sapiens, we have the most developed and most organized brain of any life form on the planet. By itself, a human mind is the most complicated and complex clump of atoms in the known universe. As life has evolved and grown on this planet, chemical reactions inside of single-celled organisms were enough to ensure survival and reproduction. A bacteria bumps into food, the proteins on its surface stick to it and fold in such a way that food gets wrapped up inside the bacterium and chopped up by other proteins and enzymes. Every time. I put enough heat into something, it ignites into fire. I drop an apple, it falls. A dangerous peroxide molecule bumps into a peroxidase enzyme, and it's chopped into harmless water and oxygen, lightning fast, like a mousetrap going off 1,000 times a second. Pure and simple laws of physics and chemistry. As life forms started working together with other life forms, they started forming colonies, and then certain cells started specializing in certain kinds of work based on their environment or how close they were to the environment. Cells on the outside would become watertight, while cells on the inside got better at digesting food and sharing. When things got too complicated and too far apart for communicating by chemicals and hormones, some cells got good at changing shape or sending electric pulses. Some of these became nerves and are found in everything from insects to apes. Clumps of nerves were eventually needed to organize the chaos. The needs of the body determined the needs of the brain, and then the success of the brain determined the success of the species. Honeybees have a pretty small cluster of nerve cells that take care of their little bodies, but are complicated enough to allow cooperation within a hive society, and even make for odd useful behaviors like how to dance and wiggle to point directions to find food. The size of a brain doesn't have to do with being smart, nor does it translate directly into intelligence. It just does what it needs to do and takes up the size it can or needs. For the large size of its head, a tiger's brain isn't all that big, and for the relative size of a whale, its brain is teeny compared to its body, though their brains are still bigger than ours. As animal brains developed, there were two general regions of them, a cerebellum and spine, which fine-tuned most of the muscle control and reflexes, and a reptilian middle brain, which received all the input from our senses and environment. It's all pretty reflexive, with little actual thinking going on. As animals became more advanced and complicated, we developed a super system on top of our reptilian midbrain. Now we have a GO system and a KNOW, K-N-O-W system. The GO system is the fight or flight system. Our senses predict a danger, a flood of hormones surge out, and muscles start springing to action to either dominate or run away. Our KNOW system is the rest and digest system. Occasionally we're overwhelmed or confused and neither one works and we freeze like a deer staring at headlights, and we get run down by whatever it is that's coming at us. If the body reports that food is nearby, the brain says, go get it. When everything's going just peachy, when all is safe and calm and there's food enough and perhaps to spare, then the brain says, let's get busy passing on our genes. Go find a mate. It's very reflexive, very instinctive, very animal. Your body does what your brain tells it, and your brain is mostly the result of millions of years of animalistic evolution and instinct. Even language, love, nurturing, social hierarchy, use of tools and technology, and forming prejudices from infancy are things we share with animals. These two systems, officially called the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, are in constant balance of sorts. One is the gas, and the other is the brake. They keep us going at the speed that best serves our needs, and they decide about, or at least 95% of our decisions, without our input, without conscious choice. These are our instincts, our reflexes and drives. I made that percentage up, but the point is that the huge majority of our decisions are made reflexively by our brain, driven by environment and biology. Did you know that 87.6% of statistics are made up on the spot? I made that statistic up right there, but I bet you it's true. What's the difference between instinct and reflex? When I tap that soft spot near your knee and your leg kicks out, that's a reflex. The signal only goes so far as your spine before a message goes back to the knee to jerk, and only after it's all over does the message get to your brain that something even happened. When your finger touches something hot and you jerk away before you even realize what's going on, that's a reflex. Almost out of your control. Instinct is more complicated. A baby human is born and starts searching for something to suck on. That's instinct. A mother turkey nurtures and protects anything that makes the baby turkey cooing sound. That's instinct. Baby turtles hatch, dig up through the sand, and head towards the ocean. instinct. No one taught them anything, it's just there. An instinct is a really complicated reflex. Where that boundary is between reflex and instinct is anybody's guess. There's a healthy debate among scholars of all kinds about it, and there will be for a long time yet. We have a very instinctive brain, much more instinctive than I think anyone really wants to believe. But primates and certain other animals have developed a part of our brain that goes an extra level above instinct, from just a really complicated reflex into a cosmically complicated reflex. It is so complicated that most times we can't see the cause that created the effect. A customer at work snipes at us for an hour and a half, and life goes on. Yet later, when we're alone and life is calm, we'll be on a Ben & Jerry's binge and feeling bad about ourselves for being so gross that we ate a whole carton in one sitting, even though it helps us feel better from that dumb encounter still lingering in our memories somewhere behind the scenes, kept alive by the original flood of stress hormones that's still dissipating from earlier that day. Or perhaps it was something that happened yesterday, or last week. Yet you won't remember the incident or know that that is what sparked it. At what point do we decide that we have free will over our body and its instincts? Who knows? I've talked to neuroanatomists, neuroscientists, neurosurgeons, psychiatrists, philosophers, and psychologists, and no one can give me a definitive answer. Certain religions promote that we do indeed have free will, and even many scientists will contest that we do. How much free will do we have? Most of us agree we have at least some, but scientifically, we're not quite sure. How much do our genes and our environment control us? How much control does our spirit, or whatever it is that makes the final decision, have on our body? I would claim that it's barely there if you believe me that it's there at all. It would be such a small influence that we cannot yet see it or accurately measure it, and that level of control is easily lost to our animalistic minds and our animalistic instincts, reflexes, and addictive behaviors. It's pushed forward by hormones that reward us for anything that feels good at the moment. Many people have looked for that part of our brain, that tiny pinpoint part that is free from external stimuli, that can make free choices. We haven't found it yet. I doubt there's a single spot, more likely the whole outer cortex, the outer layer of our brain that all contributes. Our moral and rational brain, the part we seem to have some control over. This is the know system, K-N-O-W. We can take control of it. With the right amount of knowledge, teaching, some outside help, and years of bumpy, rough practice, we can learn to control our brain. We can learn that we can create happiness, genuine happiness, through conscious thought and a little bit of cleverness. When I'm feeling sad, if I smile, one part of my brain controls the muscles into a nice curling of the lip. Another part of the brain picks up on this. It's like, oh wait, we're smiling. Why are we smiling? Can anyone tell me? No one? Well, we must be smiling for a reason. Alert the positivity nerves, we must be smiling for a reason. So let's figure out why we're smiling. The positivity nerves, no, there's not really a set of nerves called that, this is just to give you an idea, who fell asleep on the job, are jolted awake and have to come up with reasons why the body is smiling. Must be a Tuesday, sir. Oh, and the sky is blue. That's always a reason to smile. And we're not dying. Yep, that's worth smiling over. And the overall effect of all the hullabaloo is that it works. Those reasons for being happy are just as legitimate and valid reasons for smiling as any other. When researchers scanned the brains of people pretending to be happy with made-up reasons versus others who are feeling genuinely elated, there is no difference. Happiness is happiness. Optimists aren't blind sheep ignoring the real world. They are just choosing to focus their energy on the parts of their world that are good, while pessimists are focusing their energy on what is wrong or missing. Both are correct in their observations, and with different results. Only imagining that you are eating ice cream activates some of the same parts of your brain as actually eating ice cream. Part of your brain is imagining the ice cream and sends ice cream signals to other parts of the brain and body. Those parts that just got the message can't tell much of a difference between a real message and a faked one, so they respond as normal and treat you as if you are eating ice cream, like a reflex. This can be a good or bad thing depending on whether the reward is real or not. Not dying is a fantastic reason to be happy. Exercising is a great reason to be happy. Building things up and creating something new is designed to make you happy. Creation, though a long and often painful process, ultimately leaves us feeling proud and overjoyed, while destroying can leave us feeling stimulated in the short term and depressed over the long term. Taking a hit of some drug or behaving in a way that shuts out the droning noise of the world around us can also make us feel happy, but there's a time limit to how long you can do that before you've run your body ragged and sucked your brain dry and are having to deal with a broken body, broken relationships, and a broken life.